All right, so now that we have our VMware player installed, we're going to need to put a VM on top of that. So throughout this course, we're going to be utilizing Linux. More specifically, we're going to be utilizing a Linux called Kali Linux. Now, if you've never used Linux before, that's absolutely okay. We have a section coming up on introductory Linux and we'll get you completely up to speed. But for now, we need to be able to install Linux so that we can use it. And Kali Linux is a Debian-based version of Linux, and it is a pen tester Linux. So this is completely built for ethical hacking, as you're going to see once we dive into it. So I've gone ahead and just went to Google and typed in Kali Linux download. And if we scroll down, we're going to skip this first section here. Let's scroll down to this Kali Linux custom image downloads from Offensive Security. We're going to click on this link and we're going to scroll down a bit. And you can see that there are Kali Linux VMware images. Now, if you're utilizing VMware, this is exactly what you're going to use here. And if you're using VirtualBox, then you're going to use this down here. Since we are using VMware, I'm going to go ahead and select the 64-bit download here. So we're going to download 64-bit. You can either download it just by clicking, or you can download the torrent as well. So this is going to download a 7-zip file. I'm going to go ahead and just hit download and save. And this is going to take a second. This is 2.2 gigs. So go ahead and pause the video. Once your download is complete, we'll go ahead and start from there. Okay, so the download has finished and I'm going to go ahead and select open. Now, if you do not have a 7-zip installed on your machine, you're going to need to install 7-zip. So you can go out to Google and just say 7-zip download. And if you go to download 7-zip right here, download the appropriate one for you. Here is the executable 64-bit for Windows. So go ahead and download this one, install it again, point and click, and you'll have 7-zip on your machine. So once you have that, come back here and we're going to need to extract this. So go ahead and get your file extracted. I'm going to do that really quick. And I'm dragging this over just to show you it's going to take some time. I'm just putting it in my downloads folder. So again, we're just dealing with a lot of data. Compressed, I think it's 2.2 gigs. Uncompressed, around 9 or 10 gigs. So make sure you have the space as well when you do extract this. So once this is done extracting your machine, go ahead and unpause the video and come back, and then we'll actually get Kali Linux up and running. Okay, so now I've got my VMware Workstation Player open. Our files are extracted. I'm going to go ahead and just select Open a Virtual Machine. And I've navigated to the folder that I needed to get to, which is just my Downloads folder with this Kali 2019.3. I'm going to go ahead and open that. And now you should see that the file's open. Before we go ahead and do this, let's go ahead and just select Edit Virtual Machine Settings. And there's a couple things that we need to talk about in here. So the amount of memory that you allocate depends on the amount of memory that you have. So here it tells you the recommended amount and the amount that you have maximum available. So for my system, for example, I have 32 gigabytes of RAM. Now, I would probably give this machine somewhere between 4 and maybe 8 gigabytes. I would say 4 gigabytes. If you do not have a lot of RAM, go ahead and leave it at 2 gigabytes. 2 gigabytes is fine. You might notice a tiny bit of slowness, but it's nothing that's going to keep you behind by any means. So I'm going to bump this one up to 4096, which is 4 gigabytes. And I'm also going to take a look at the network adapter. Now, we haven't gotten into networking yet, but we're going to cover some of these topics. So NAT is a protocol that we can use, or we can use Bridge. Go ahead and leave it for now at NAT. If we need to change it to Bridge later, we will. NAT should be perfectly fine. If you don't know what NAT is, that's okay. We're going to cover that here in a little bit. So we'll select OK, and we're just going to hit power on. And when you get this prompt, all you have to say is, I copied it, and it's going to boot up your Kali Linux machine. Now, this is the first time booting it. Sometimes you can full screen it, sometimes you can't. As of right now, we just tried to full screen. It doesn't work yet. So Go ahead and let this boot up. It shouldn't take but just a second, and then you're going to be brought to a login screen, and actually we are full screen, so that's great. So your default username is going to be root, and your default password is going to be Toor, T-O-O-R. So that is root backwards. So you type that in, and you have now successfully logged into Kali Linux. You have installed Kali Linux, and you are ready to go from here. So in the next video, we're going to cover briefly what is Kali Linux in an overview, and we'll dive a little bit deeper into Linux.